Hello everyone and welcome to the Wire MBA channel. Now in this video I am going to discuss a passage from CAT 2023 paper. This passage was a part of the VARC section, and as all of you know that the reading comprehension section is very important since there are almost 18 questions out of 24 questions that are coming in the CAT VARC section. So it's important that you know the kind of passage that came, the kind of questions that came, and how can you approach these questions in order to get the perfect score. Now, another thing that you need to focus on, that as you practice more and more of RCs, your accuracy should go up and your time taken should come down. You need to follow this while you're practicing more and more of these passages. So come, let's see one of those passages that came in slot 2 of CAT 2023 paper. So we will first go through the question. So the question is, the author of the passage refers to the Davos elite to illustrate his views on. So this is to know that whenever we come across the Davos elite as a part of the passage, we will need to come and refer to question 1 here. Then all of the following statements are evidence of the decline of liberalism today except. So you need to see that the author has claimed something about the liberalism. The claim is that there has been decline of liberalism. And you have to look for the evidence in one of these 4 options. Now question 3 says that the author of passage is likely to disagree with all of the following statements except. So he would disagree with which statements? The one statement that he would not disagree with, we will choose that as a correct answer. So except type of questions are very common. It was very common in this year's CAT. The author of the passage faults Deneen's conclusions for all of the following reasons except. So there are 3 things that he thinks is incorrect in his conclusion except for one thing. So that one thing should be our answer. So come, let's read the passage. Over the past 4 centuries, liberalism has been so successful that it has driven all its opponents off the battlefield. Now it is disintegrating, destroyed by a mix of hubris and internal contradictions, according to Patrick Deneen, a professor of politics at the University of Notre Dame. Equality of opportunity has produced a new meritocratic aristocracy that has all the aloofness of the old aristocracy, with none of its sense of noblesse oblige. Democracy has degenerated into a theatre of the absurd, and technological advances are reducing ever more areas of work into meaningless drudgery. The gap between liberalism's claims about itself and the lived reality of citizenry is now so wide that lie can no longer be accepted. Mr. Deneen writes, what better proof of his than the vision of 1,000 private planes whisking their occupants to Davos to discuss the question of creating a shared future in a fragmented world. Deneen does an impressive job of capturing the current mood of disillusionment, echoing left-wing complaints about rampant commercialism, right-wing complaints about narcissistic and bullying students, and general worries about atomization and selfishness. But when he concludes that all this adds up to a failure of liberalism, is his argument convincing? So this is what we were trying to find, the conclusion when he concludes. So what were the faults? He argues that the essence of liberalism lies in freeing individuals from constraints. In fact, liberalism contains a wide range of intellectual traditions which provide different answers to the question of how to trade off the relative claims of rights and responsibilities, individual expression, and social ties. Liberals experimented with a range of ideas from devolving power from the center to creating national education systems. Now, Mr. Deneen's fixation on the essence of liberalism leads to the second big problem of his book, his failure to recognize liberalism's ability to reform itself and address its internal problems. The late 19th century saw America suffering from many of the problems that are reappearing today, including the creation of a business aristocracy, the rise of vast companies, the corruption of politics, and the sense that society was dividing into winners and losers. But a wide variety of reformers working within the liberal tradition tackled these problems head on. Theodore Roosevelt took on the trusts, progressive cleaned up government corruption. University reformers modernized academic syllabuses and built ladders of opportunity. Rather than dying, liberalism reformed itself. Now, the last passage, Mr. Deneen is right to point out that the record of liberalism in recent years has been dismal. He is also right to assert that the world has much to learn from the pre-modern notions of liberty as self-mastery and self-denial. The biggest enemy of liberalism is not so much atomization but old-fashioned greed as members of the Davos elite. So this is the first question. Remember, Davos elite pile their plates ever higher with perks and share options. But he is wrong to argue that the only way for people to liberate themselves from the contradiction of liberalism is liberation from liberalism itself. The best way to read why liberalism failed is not as a funeral oration, but as a call to action. Up your game or else. So let's look at the first question. The author of the passage refers to Davos elite to illustrate his views on. So what do you think the author is talking about? So the author is talking about, is he talking about the unlikelihood of a return to the liberalism of the past as long as the rich continue? So this is extreme language. We cannot say that the author has said the rich continue to benefit from the decline in liberal values. So we can eliminate this. The way the debate around liberalism has been captured by the rich who have managed to insulate themselves from economic hardships. This is again irrelevant, something not mentioned in the passage. Now, the hypocrisy of the liberal rich who profess to subscribe to liberal values while cornering most of the wealth. So, the author does talk about the Davos elite piling up their plates and also the vision of thousand flights moving towards Davos to discuss their views on a common topic. So, this could be hypocritic. So, we will keep this option. The fact that rise in liberalism has led to a greater interest in shared futures from unlikely social classes. Again, unlikely social classes is something that is extreme. So we will eliminate option D and go for option C over here. Now the next question is, all of the following statements are evidence of the decline of liberalism today, except. So, and technological advances are reducing ever more areas of work into meaningless drudgery. So this is related to areas of work, not really liberalism. So we can talk about this, we can keep this, that this is not talking about the decline of liberalism. The creation of a business aristocracy, the rise of vast companies. So the author very clearly mentions these as causes for the decline of liberalism. So we will eliminate it. Democracy has degenerated into a theatre of absurd. This is also linked to the concept of decline of liberalism by the author. The gap between liberalism's claim about itself and the lived reality of citizenry is now so wide that the lie can no longer be accepted. So the author is accepting over here that there is a decline in liberalism. So we will eliminate this and we will go with option A. Next question is also an except question. So the author of passage is likely to disagree with all of the following statement except. So if he is disagreeing with this statement, we will eliminate it. Claims about liberalism's disintegration are exaggerated and misunderstand its core features. No, the author will not disagree with it. If we accept that liberalism is a dying ideal, we must work to find a viable substitute. That is exactly what the author is saying. Now, liberalism was a dominant ideal in the past century, but it had to reform itself to remain so. He would not disagree with this. So we will keep this option. The essence of liberalism lies in greater individual self-expression and freedoms. So this is what he would disagree with. So the author is likely to disagree with all of these statements except this statement. He would never disagree with option C over here. So let's move on to the next question. The author of the passage falls Deneen's conclusions for all of the following faults for all of the following reasons. So if that is a reason for the fault, then we will eliminate it. It's repeated harking back. It's not this. He does not say that harking back to the pre-modern notions of liberty is a fault in his conclusion. Its failure to note historical instances in which the process of declining liberalism has managed. This is what the author highlights. So we will eliminate it. Its extreme pessimism about the future of liberalism today and predictions of an ultimate decline. This is what the author says it's a fault. Its very narrow definition of liberalism is limited to individual freedoms. So we will go with option A over here. This brings us to the end of this passage. how easily we were able to solve 4 questions in no time at all. So if you want to join the MBA community to get access to live classes, mocks, more strategies, a lot of free courses, then comment MBA and my team will be sharing a link with you. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. All the best.